Hello.
Hi, we are Doctors Jennifer and Jake Dean Hill, and this is the Doctors J&J podcast. We are so excited to be here with you today. We are both licensed therapists. We work together, we live together, we lead together, so we understand the challenges of being able to work peacefully and harmoniously together. We have come up with a simple, concrete solution. It's called Wear Two Crowns.
Wear Two Crowns is all about equity, learning how to bring out the strengths in each other, and learning how to share the power in the relationship so that we can all be better together. Each week, we're going to give you tips and tools and strategies and even personal stories to help you wear two crowns. And we're going to invite experts in the field of relationships that will help to educate us, inspire us to wear two crowns as well.
Yes. So tune in each week. We look forward to our time together.
Welcome to the Doctors J&J podcast. We're happy to be here with you guys today. And this episode is on regulate before reasoning. And this is about really, I would guess I'd call it heart before head.
For sure. Something that men and women don't do well at often.
It's very true. We typically, when there's an issue or a problem, typically one party comes more with the head and tries to reason what's happening, and the emotions can be completely neglected.
Right.
When this happens, unfortunately, what creates a real heightened conflict typically, and this is really where one of the parties gets dysregulated. And to stereotype, I would say it's typically the woman that can get really dysregulated because she's emotionally getting neglected and ignored. And it's not intentional by the man. He's just going, let's fix the problem. Let's talk about this, and let's not keep talking about what we feel because that's so abstract. But you could speak more to that.
Yeah, I think what ends up happening is men are trying to fix everything with logic and reason. And that's why we talked about this session being all about learning how to regulate before you try to go to reason, which is hard because men think that you can logic and reason, everything out. And the reality of it is, to try to be reasoning and logic, you have to use your head. And oftentimes it's what's missing in the relationship is the heart.
Yeah, it reminds me of the video, Nail in the Head. And if you haven't seen that, you just gotta watch it because it'll say it all. But it's where the woman is coming to the man and she has a nail sticking out of her head, and she's talking to the man and he's listening to her, and she's saying, I just feel it's kind of sick and down, and I've got these headaches and they won't stop. And the man goes, well, you've got this. Let me see if I can pull this. She's like, you're just not listening to me. You just keep trying to fix the problem. And he's like, okay, I'll listen to you. And he keeps staring at her, and this nail sticking out of her head. And she keeps talking about how she feels so disappointed when she goes to put on her sweaters, and they keep snagging, and she doesn't know why. Okay, so you can see the ludicrousness of this, right? To just go on and talk about your feelings and your heart is effective, but completely ineffective for producing significant change. It's good for creating connection, like he really learned to listen to how hard and empathize.
It's also good to create frustration.
Well, yeah, true. It creates frustration for both parties, right? So ultimately what we say is you have to get to the reasoning part so change can happen, right? And this is the beauty of the man. He goes, let me just pull that nail out and I'll fix it all and everything will be right. And the woman's like, no, you're not listening to me, right? So what we just simply say is the reasoning or the fixing is always the second conversation.
Yes.
But if you can show up and just say, you know what, I can tell you're really struggling. Well, you pretend like you're talking to me and I have the nail in my head. What would you say to me before you move to the fixing?
Yes. I would say something to the effect of, honey, I can see that you are in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And that you're struggling and frustrated. All your sweaters are snagged. Every time that you get close to the mirror to put your makeup on, you crack the mirror. I mean,
It's hard.
all of these things
really
are
hard,
happening,
right.
and it's so hard. And the headaches, I mean,
They just keep coming.
yeah.
They don't stop.
yeah.
Right.
And then the blood that's dripping down onto your face is messing up your makeup. Like,
Correct.
all of that is just so hard. And
Right.
so, yes, I would, as excruciating as that would be in
Right.
that exact scenario, is to give you empathy and to try to help relate and put my heart in that, because all I want to do is just yank that nail out.
So you have to validate and empathize
Right.
where the person is at first, right? Especially the woman. If you're trying to talk with a woman, that's what you have to validate her emotions. Now, it would just be just as crazy just to say, if for the woman just to say, stop trying to fix this, right? It's like at some point, this is the beauty of the man, a lot of times that can come in. And again, we're stereotyping. We've definitely seen this switched around with the genders, but where the man can typically, or the fixer, come in and go, let me just yank that nail out and all will be well.
Right. Yeah. It's so common that we miss each other. And I think that's a lot what today's episode is about is oftentimes how men and women miss each other. And we don't take care of our own needs in that, or we don't realize that we're hurting instead of helping in the conversation.
Yeah, we're trying to control what needs to be done instead of connect with the person and make sure that we both feel heard and validated before we move to that second conversation is, how do we fix this? It's basically, who are you and how are you doing versus how do we fix this and how do we move forward? So if we get those out of order, we find that this creates a lot of conflict and dysregulation for the couple. So the step is the 1-2 is 1, validate the emotion and what is happening with the person before you go to fixing it and moving it forward. Would you agree with that?
Activate your heart before your head. Oftentimes, men oftentimes start with their head and women start with their heart. That's obviously stereotypical. If we can understand that and try to find that balance, obviously if we only stay in the head and we don't ever get to the, or stay in the heart and don't ever get to the head, then we don't ever get to possibly a solution or finding the reason or the logic with that.
Yeah, let's define what it sounds like to really be in the reasoning or the head space and what it really sounds like to be in the heart space. And I'll do the heart space and you can do the reasoning.
Good.
'Cause we're both
I'm
great at
really
those.
good at that.
We are. We're both really good at those. And
Okay.
when you miss each other and you come head talking about your head when the person's talking about your heart, this is called misattunement or misalignment, and you're not in attunement with each other.
Right.
And this creates low attachment.
Right. And that attunement, I didn't really know what that meant early on, but it's literally a musical term.
Yeah.
When like if you have a piano and you've ever had somebody come tune it, they actually come with tuning forks, where they will pluck that tuning fork, which is a perfect pitch, and they will play that note and tune that particular note on the piano so it exactly resonates and is attuned with that note.
Good job. That's a beautiful word picture for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when you're not attuned with your partner, right? She's playing F sharp and I'm on D flat.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh,
Cringy.
yeah, it doesn't really work, and it does not make beautiful music or beautiful marriage.
Right. So back to defining what is head and heart talk. So
Yes.
heart talk is basically anything like what you're feeling. And rarely do people say, I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling distressed. As much as we encourage that as therapists to use the I statements, rarely is that done. So one of the things that we just encourage people is you don't have to communicate perfectly to be heard in your emotions.
No.
You can tell when your partner is upset. You can tell. They might either start talking with an elevated pitch. They might start talking with accusations. Again, we don't advise, but those things happen. And they might start complaining. They might start criticizing you, or they might start shaming themselves or shaming you.
True.
In either case, what we encourage is really try to hear. So, for instance, it might sound, here's a healthy way to say to be able to express your heart. I'm feeling upset that every time I go to speak, you keep interrupting me and you keep taking my point. Okay, now that can be healthy, right?
That never happens.
Just a few times. Or here could be an unhealthy way to say it, but it's still, you can tell that there is emotional distress with your partner. Is you keep interrupting me and I can't ever get a word out edgewise. Okay, both are the message that says, I'm not feeling happy with you. And one is easier to hear. And this is what we encourage people. If you really want to be heard, work on communicating your heart in a way that helps you to be heard. If you do you statements or accuse the person or criticize them or come at them,
It's not going to go well.
first thing that's going to do, if I say, you are the one, you don't want to hear me and you keep blocking me and you think you're more important than me, what that will do immediately with Jake is it puts him on the defense, right?
Oh, for sure.
And then it starts an argument.
Right. And so, like Jen said, there's a good way and a bad way to express your feelings, or a more effective way. But couples who advance and I would say mature in their communication skills, the one in the receiving side of things has to really work hard at hearing the message beyond the message.
Yes, well said.
And even though it's not right, even though I want to defend and I want to bring my logic and reason into that statement, when you say, well, you never, and I want to say, well, no, last week I did that perfectly and, this and that, or I did this or that. If I go straight to trying to dissect everything you're saying,
Right.
and I don't hear the heart message behind what you're saying, then we're never going to get there.
Right. We get into an argument where there's defenses and we step out of hearing each other or a dialogue. What we're working for is a dialogue for connecting.
Right.
Now, we will, I just have to brag on you a little bit, Jake. I think you've done a really good on that. I can come out kind of, passionate about my message, and I can come out with a lot of emotion. I'm an emotionally driven person, and God bless Jake and his family and everybody who's probably a little bit more reasonable a lot of times. But I'm a very heart-driven person, so I can come out with some really strong emotion. And he's done a really good job of staying calm, keeping his voice calm, and making sure that he really hears, okay, what's happening here? And then really working on an appropriate response that continues to de-escalate the situation. So, yeah.
Thank you, honey.
Yeah.
Well, I get to brag on you then.
Okay, good.
Because
Bring it.
I do feel like I work hard at staying calm. Obviously, I have my times of being defensive. But one of the things that I feel like you have been really good at is being patient with me when I want to go to all head.
Yeah.
And I don't hear your heart. And so then your heart gets missed. And that has been a common sentiment where it's like, you missed my heart, you missed my message or whatever, but you've been patient to give me another chance.
Thank you.
To hear your heart, even though I want to go straight to fixing or logic or reason or parsing out what you're saying.
Thank you, honey. I was thinking as you're talking, though, I think what makes this easier, because it's so hard, it still really hurts. It really hurts when I go to bring my feelings and emotion to you, and you just respond with, well, let me just pull that nail out. Let me just fix this, right? And it's like, first sit with me in this emotion that feels too big for me alone. And can you just join with me on this? And when you can do that, it co-regulates me
Right.
to be able to move the next space or the next square that's like, okay, let's fix this. And can we fix this together?
Right.
Everything about a woman is, do we do it together? To get her is to be together. Splitting that word up.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah.
But you know why we don't do that well?
Well, because we're different.
We're different, but also it's because men automatically assume that we have done something. Like our wife is upset
Yeah.
because of us. Like we have done something to
Wrong.
upset her, wrong. We have to fix something,
Yep.
right? If she's leaking
Yes.
from her eyes, we have a leak to fix. And so one of the tips that I give couples a lot, because for some reason it seems like women are coming to men with these more than the other way around, and I think that's partly just because they're better relationship managers, and I really give a lot of kudos to women for caring enough about the relationship to come to their husbands with things that are hurting them or struggling. But one of the things that could be very effective is for when you're coming to your spouse is saying, hey, you are okay.
Yeah.
And I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I just need you to hear me and to hear my feeling.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you have to set the stage sometimes that says, even though I'm crying and I appear upset and there's a lot of emotion right now,
Right.
you're okay.
Yeah.
I don't need you to fix it as much as I just need you to hear the emotion. And then it sets your partner up for success in that.
That's good. Sometimes I think, though, that needs to be a private voice that the man is saying that, because if you're saying, I'm okay and you're okay, and I'm feeling emotionally strong about something, I'm like, no, you're actually not okay. And I need you to look at some bad behavior here, right? But no, you're right. You have to, it's called, shame resiliency. You have to
Sure.
regulate the shame that you're feeling. And I think back to your point as far as just, as we're talking about, this is not in our notes, just express gratitude for each other. But I think we both have recognized that we're both really trying very hard to hear each other. And when you come to me with your head and your reasoning, I realize it's the very thing I love about you. And
hate.
well, it's just it gets delivered at the wrong time.
Of
So
course.
I'm just like, hold on to that, because I'm going to need your reasoning, because you really just grab my feet and throw them on the ground and get me walking upright again. Can you just make that the second conversation? Can you start with the emotion? And you recognize that about yourself, and you recognize the importance of that. So when we can learn to depersonalize, I think
Yeah.
that you're not what's actually happening. First, identify what is happening, that we're missing each other, we're misattuned, we're doing a head-heart conversation instead of a heart-to-heart, a head-to-head conversation.
Right.
And then secondly, depersonalize it. Like, you wouldn't do this to hurt me. You're just being you. You're being very logical, reasonable Jake,
Right.
who's pretty steady and is trying to fix the problem and cares about me very much. And
Which is kind of what I was getting at, is setting the stage with, I know you love me. I know you
that's
don't
good.
want to hurt me,
yeah, that's good.
but you did,
Yeah.
right? It's like, if we don't acknowledge that, sometimes it just diffuses it so much. It's so much easier to hear it without defensiveness when you're telling me, honey, I know you love me. I know you would never do anything to hurt me intentionally. But, and this is what I say in session all the time, if I run over your foot with my truck unintentionally, your foot is still crushed.
True.
And so we can't ignore that. We go, well, I didn't intend it. It was unintentional. I didn't mean it, but my foot is still crushed. And so we will crush our spouse's feet all the time,
Right.
because of who we are to them.
Yeah.
And so we have to take that in consideration, that says, yes, I will hurt my spouse, right? That's the $1 million question. Why do we hurt the ones we love?
Yeah.
But it's because they're the ones we love. If we did or said the exact same thing to a perfect stranger, Wouldn't matter. They wouldn't care.
That's a
We
good
wouldn't
point.
care.
Yeah.
And so you have to take that in consideration.
We've let each other into our hearts. We've
Yeah.
given each other a lot of power in our hearts to influence us, to love us, to encourage us, to build us up.
Right.
That's a really good point.
And we would diffuse it with affirming the positive, right? Because there's very few humans on the planet, they're usually called sociopaths, who will wake up in the morning and go, how can I hurt my spouse?
Right.
Like
Right.
nobody intends to do that, but it happens.
So if we can assume the best,
Yeah.
right? That when we miss each other and we don't do heart to heart attuned communication or head to head attuned communication, when we can assume the best and we can depersonalize that our partner is not trying to do this and yet still gently correct them and say, no, before we go to the head and fixing, give me a couple minutes to cry this one out, or come in my corner and sit with me, give space to me to be able to
Right.
feel, share this with me. That is healthy attachment. That's how we grow closer together.
Well, it's co-regulation,
It's totally co-regulation.
which is so important when we're dysregulated. But most of the time we're coming to our partner with something. It's because we're dysregulated.
Can I talk about Punch the Monkey?
Okay.
Anybody has watched what's gone viral with Punch the Monkey, then you know what I'm talking about, right? But Punch needs to be regulated and he can't get it. So the only way he can get it, because he's an orphaned monkey, you're going to have to, if you just put in Punch, it'll be all over the social media.
We're not saying punch your spouse.
No,
We're saying punch the monkey.
Punch the monkey,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And he was orphaned as a monkey, and and all the other monkeys ignored him and have rejected him. So because we're hardwired to have that attachment and that comfort, he has to have a little stuffed monkey that goes with him, and it's so precious. So after this episode, please look up Punch the Monkey. You're going to get sucked into that hole like I've been, and I think I sent you 10 videos last night on
She did.
Punch the Monkey.
She did.
And it's just been this, it's cool now. He's actually found a mother monkey. Just for those of you who are worried about Punch, he's found a mother monkey who has adopted him, and they are co-regulating together, and it's a wonderful little relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
I was not educated on Punch the Monkey until last night. And
You
so
are now.
we definitely need to bring that to the masses and get everybody rallying for Punch.
Punch. And we need to co-regulate. We need to come together.
Yeah.
Animals need it. Humans
Yeah.
need it. It's just, that's what's amazing.
And you're way better than a stuffed animal. I'll tell you that.
I totally am. And so this is what we'll find too, and actually we'll extrapolate this out. We won't get too much off, and this will be another episode. But if you don't bond with people, you bond with things. Just like Punch. Punch is bonding with his little monkey. And if you don't bond with another human, then you will bond with things. And this is what we'll see, people that become very obsessed with things, and they all the way to becoming hoarders, to really,
Right.
becoming obsessed with making a lot of money.
Right.
So you want to be able to bond and co-regulate. And the way you co-regulate is you do this. We've talked before in other episodes as far as just being able to comfort each other, spooning, being able to hold each other, rock together. But this is a very important way too, is attunement,
Yes.
is head-to-head conversation.
And eye contact.
Yes.
And I have to give a nod to our good friend,
I know.
Deb Dial.
Deb Dial.
She
Dr.
decided
Deb
that
Dial.
Jen needed a special gift for her birthday.
Yes.
And after hearing all of our talk about co-regulation, she gave Jen this wonderful pot holder that says spooning leads to forking, which is often very true. And so, yes, thank you, Deb, for that. That was a great little humorous gift.
Is that your pro tip to men? If they want more sex, then they need to learn how to co-regulate.
Yes,
Yeah.
they need to learn how to co-regulate and be really good at spooning
Absolutely. That's so true.
and good at eye contact and good at empathy and all of the other things that
Right.
we usually suck at.
Absolutely. But this is something, or it's usually something, I wouldn't say you suck as much as it's just your emphasis goes onto fixing. How can we reason this away?
Right.
So, and you're going to talk about reasoning because I just
am.
talked about the heart. So you talk about reasoning. What is reasoning?
Yeah, reasoning is obviously the head, but it's trying to find the reasonable approach to the issue, and oftentimes it involves trying to figure it out and get very detailed in terms of what is being said, what are the facts, what are the solutions.
When did that last happen?
Right. When did it last happen? Who is involved?
How many times has it happened?
Right. So I am the king when it comes to trying to over detail, over parse out a conversation. And so basically it's when you are putting all of your data figures in place and trying to get your spreadsheet all filled in before ever hearing the emotion or the real message behind
heart.
that. The heart, yeah.
The heart.
And there's nothing wrong with that, and it's not like you can turn that off as a guy, especially because that's how we just see the world, and we're not ignoring emotion intentionally, but we have to be very deliberate about setting that aside temporarily and going, okay, I want to hear your heart.
When you do that, that's really the main point of all of this, is it regulates the person that is hurting,
Right.
and it regulates the relationship so that you actually can have a reasonable, safe connection.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that if you do it in that order, and it doesn't mean you have to be perfect in that,
No.
because you're going to start out and you're going to get defensive or go logic and trying to reason it out. And that's where you get to say time out and go, hey, let's start over. Would you mind? I know you don't want to hurt me. I know you don't want to ignore my feelings. Would you mind can we give this another shot so that you can hear my heart? I want your head. I want your help. And the timeout rule is so helpful
it is.
because perfection is not the goal. And you're going to have unhelpful conversations that are not regulating, and they get the head before the heart. And you just get to start over and just do do-overs.
Yeah, and I have probably just as much men as I have women that are very heart driven, very passionate.
Oh, sure.
And so that doesn't have anything to do with gender.
No.
The passionate, typically you'll see this for visionaries, people that are highly creative. They can a lot of times be very heart driven, artistic, and it's their greatest strength. It's your greatest weakness as well when you can't learn how to move to the head or connect in a reasonable conversation with another person. So that's the beauty. That's what you give me, is just a really great balance that to be able to feel my emotions strongly. But I know that when you bring your reasonable part forward, this is an opportunity for me to really access that and not only connect with you, but also continue to stay balanced with my heart and my head.
Which is such a healthy boundary to have. To say, hey, I want to have a conversation with you, but I need it to go in a healthier, safer way.
Right.
And the saddest part is I hear couples just say, we can't have hard conversations.
Right.
Where they just give up on having meaningful, hard conversations, and instead of putting a boundary down and say, hey, can we do this different?
Right. Yeah, we believe, we have a deep faith that we were created in the image of a divine being. And that means our emotions are divinely created and our thoughts are divinely created. And that means there needs to be space for both. And we just need to learn how to match those up so that we can have a really strong attachment and connection provided from the attunement.
Exactly. And accessing your higher power and your divine, being, God, to help in that. And I need God's help all the time to access my head or my heart before my head, and listen. And I always remind myself and others that we have two ears and one mouth for a reason.
Right. When we're able to access that higher divine strength too, we're able to transcend or rise above what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what's happening, and recognize, okay, we have a higher purpose. We also have an unlimited power at our access to be able to create changes in our life and rise above some of these difficulties or these challenges that can feel very big and overwhelming.
For sure.
So, do we want to talk about the how? Just a reminder of how to self-regulate a little bit and how to co-regulate.
Yeah, I think that'd be good to give her a little quick refresher on that.
Okay.
Because it comes into so many situations.
Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about the self-regulating. Is just the one of the things I like to just again refer to as the five senses: what you smell, see, touch, feel. These are the things that sometimes when you what you hear, when you can concentrate on some of those things, to be able to put on some soothing music, to be able to calm you, to smell a lovely candle, some good chocolate chip cookies cooking can be really cinnamon rolls can be very regulating for you too, right? Food can be very regulating. Obviously, it can be something that we can go to very quickly and easily as food. So one of the things we encourage people in our indulgent society is to look beyond that a little bit more and, watch water move, be able to get outside and watch the trees move can be very regulating. Listening to birds. Watching, we love to watch the birds nest in spring. We've got some that are coming into our hanging baskets now, but that can be really regulating. And then when you do it together, it can be really co-regulating. I'll let you speak.
That was super fun.
Yeah.
Watching these little birds just relentless about grabbing little twigs and bringing them back to the nest and grabbing more twigs and bringing them back. It was like, It was fascinating. And which can be very regulating because it kind of gets your attention off of yourself and going,
right.
There's other things going on. But as far as co-regulating goes, probably the biggest one, and this is where we're trying to activate the oxytocin hormone, which is the bonding hormone. Eye contact is huge. Just staring into each other's eyes.
Not a creepy stare.
Not a creepy stare, but staring into each other's eyes and just seeing the love behind those eyes and just being able to stay grounded that way. And also just having some sensitive touch, skin to skin contact, and doesn't obviously have to be sexual, but it just needs to be a comforting touch. Obviously having some kind words, empathy, reassurance. We talk a lot about just giving all of your strength and energy to help each other. And when, co-regulation happens when, one is probably needing it more than the other, but we ended up both benefiting from that.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. It just creates the oxytocin, which is that, like you mentioned, that love hormone that keeps you bonded, and it soothes both of you.
Right.
It puts the man to sleep. It really calms down his nervous system, and it really actually energizes the woman. It has kind of a little bit of a different response.
Right.
But it is very effective for creating a flourishing culture for your marriage. And that's really what we're going for. When, like Jake said, just just thinking about the attunement, when that gets off, it's like that screech. Anybody who's a musician, it's just that screechy. There's nothing worse than it just being in two different keys. That's exactly what's happening.
Right.
And it is physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually uncomfortable to continue to try to converse with somebody when your one person is completely trying to reason and the other person is trying to get their emotions heard.
Right. When there is not that attunement. And so
I think one of the things that we've talked about too is that when is there a good time that reasonable conversations don't work? And that's typically when boundaries are getting crossed. I think that is a great conversation to talk about maybe in another podcast about boundaries and how to make sure we reinforce the boundaries so that we can have safe, reasonable conversations and a safe, reasonable, and regulated relationship.
for sure. I think we saved the boundaries conversation for that, even though there's a lot related to this, because obviously a lot of times we're trying to have these important conversations because boundaries are being crossed. But sometimes we don't know how to do boundaries very well in a relationship, in a marriage, because we think that we need to have full access all the time, and we can't ever say no or whatever. And so we'll definitely put that into another episode.
So why don't we close off this time is just as a reminder that comfort is the antidote to pain, and attunement, which is the head-to-head communication and heart-to-heart communication, is essential for regulating the relationship and growing a secure attachment. For those of you who don't know what secure attachment, it's just basically feeling really safe and warm and loved and like you have a home with your person.
Yeah. And I would say the crown jewel for today's session is, if you want healthy connection, focus on the heart first and then go to the head.
Right.
And that is going to help you have a reasonable connection and a reasonable conversation and connection, or conversation, if you focus on that heart first, then the head.
I love it.
Say it right.
Heart. Yeah, you got to say you want to say the head first.
I know. My brain just goes head first.
Head first, right. Heart before head.
Heart before head. Yeah.
Good. That's beautiful.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
We just love spending this time with you, and we know that you have a lot to do and take care of. But we appreciate it, and we hope that you will subscribe, like, pass along, tell others, and tune in next time.
May you lead, love, and live better together.